Welcome to the 14th anniversary of the Video Bus. PC Peri here, talking to you about the Flying Focus Video Collectives program that we do every week, 30 minutes, and it's about issues that we can't leave undone. These are the issues that are voicing the voiceless as much as we can, and we love your help. Don't kill your TV, make it with us.
Yeah, and the reason we do our anniversary show at this time of year, my name is Dan Handelman, by the way. The reason we do our anniversary show at this time of year is that the Flying Focus Video Bus premiered on November 18 in 1991. And we've been on the air every year since then, 14 years solid, pretty much in the same time slot the entire time. And I've been with the group since it started, and so is PC. And as PC was saying, we just take people who are activists or ordinary citizens who pick up camcorders, and we tape issues about social justice and war and peace, and you'll be seeing clips
for those
from
visionaries.
Right, and we're going to be seeing clips from a bunch of shows from all our producers. This is the time of year we come out from behind the camera, so you know what we look like, and so that you can see us, and we'll talk about the shows a little bit, and then we'll introduce clips from the shows from this year. And we did 15 new shows this year. Some of them were two-part episodes, so we did a total of 24 video buses, new video buses, and I did a 9-hour series on the Police Accountability Conference that was held last October. So,
and some of the ones that I was involved in were doing the field coordinating, field training, organizing of CATs. Oh no, volunteers. And I think we did a great job this year.
So if you want to get involved, we have a couple of phone numbers. Our voicemail is 503-321-5051.
And 239-7456.
And we also have email, which is at ffvc@flyingfocus.org. So we hope to hear from you. We hope that you can sit back and watch these clips, and it should be another good show from another good year.
Don't forget to join us.
So this year we did quite a number of shows focusing on U.S. policy in the Middle East, particularly it's 2005 now, and the war is still going on in Iraq. And I produced several shows about Iraq. One of them was covering a visit by two employees of actually two executives from the General Union of Oil Employees from Iraq who came to the United States, and they spoke at Portland State University in June to a crowd mostly of union people from the States. It was sponsored by Job with Justice and some other local groups.
دخلت القوات الغازية إلى العراق ودمرت كل شيء.
The invading forces entered Iraq and destroyed everything,
باستثناء بعض المحطات الرئيسية الخاصة بتصدير النفط.
except a few stations that are doing exportation of oil.
وهذا سبب رئيسي يجعلنا أن نفكر بأن العدوان سيطبق مرحلة ثانية من خلال إنهاء الاحتلال العسكري.
And that's why we think that the invasion is going to have another stage in this military operation.
I hope you know that not only the United Church of Christ, but most Christians throughout the world oppose the war and the occupation. Can you tell us whether you want the end of U.S. occupation, and when do you want the U.S. to leave?
أنا أقول أريد إخراج قوات الاحتلال حالا.
I say that I want the occupation forces to leave now.
أعتقد بأن العراقيين في الانتخابات تحدوا مرحلة صعبة.
I believe that the Iraqis during this election have overcome a very difficult obstacle.
وقالوا لا للاحتلال.
And they said no to the occupation.
لأننا نستطيع أن نبني بلدنا.
Because we can build our own country.
وأنا من الناس الذين وضع بطاقة انتخابية في الصندوق.
And I was one of the people who inserted an electoral card in that box.
لأنني لا أريد الاحتلال وأريد أن أعيش في بلدي بسلام.
Because I do not want the occupation and I want to live peacefully in my country.
There is a show that I produced called Fine for Compassion, which is about a group called Voices in the Wilderness that was hauled into court in Washington, D.C. for taking medicine to Iraq. And we have shows now available on DVD, which is new for Flying Focus this year. And this show kind of covers the activists involved in Voice in the Wilderness giving a news conference and then going on a march from in front of the courthouse to the White House and then the Treasury Department.
And we felt that we needed to become our own media in a sense because the greatest scandal that went on through the years of the Clinton presidency had nothing to do with Monica Lewinsky. The greatest scandal that goes on right now in the Bush administration is a rooted, callous disregard for the lives of children who've committed no crime. Certainly we can point to the Bay Oil Company in Texas. We can point to Odin Oil Company, also Texas-based. And they made profits when they broke the United Nations economic sanctions and the U.S. law. Well, we broke those sanctions. I personally broke them as often as I could. I bought antibiotics. I bought anesthetics over to children who were writhing in pain on blood-stained mats. And they were bereft of anesthetics, bereft of antibiotics. And that was the major scandal that went on year after year. 15 years of an economic state of siege imposed on Iraq.
Well, we pray that all those who work here and at the White House can heed the words of the prophet Micah in this song. No more killing, no more war. Work for justice for the poor. No more killing, no more war. Work for justice for the poor. And into plowshares turn their swords. Nations shall learn war no more.
The government didn't really care about the sanctions, and they were really interested in trying to stop people from talking about the human effect of the sanctions, which is what Voices has done so successfully with their 70-plus delegations, bringing people to Iraq and coming back to tell folks in the United States what is the real human impact of these really acts of war by the United States.
This next clip we're going to see is from a show called Saying No to War and Occupation, and most of the tape I got for this came from Jim Lockhart, who's not here tonight, and Adam Bernstein, who has been with Flying Focus. How long have you been with Flying Focus now, Adam?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years, okay. And basically this was a teach-in and a peace march that was held at Portland State University on the 2-year anniversary of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And do you have anything you want to say about the tape in the show?
Well, it was a great discussion, diverse panel of, well, Palestinian, which we're going to see, also Iranian, and I'd also taped the march, which short clip from also.
Great, and there's a military mom and a woman who's talking about U.S. policy in Iraq. So let's take a look at those clips.
Can we leave? That's another thing that I think we have to address. There will be a bloodbath and civil war. 100,000 Iraqis have been killed by the war and occupation. This was estimated by public health specialists, epidemiologists recently in The Lancet, the British Medical Journal, calling for an investigation and reporting of the actual deaths in Iraq.
Sometimes people are asking whether there is a possibility of attacking Iran or an invasion. Well, I can assure you, if U.S. could, it would. The fact of the matter is the physical might is not there. Military is so thin, and Iran is so big for them to take over that they can't do it right now.
Listen to what President Bush said. He said, well, he's a famous American man. All who live in tyranny and hopelessness can know that the United States will not ignore your oppression or excuse your oppressors. When you stand for your liberty, we will stand with you. Well, great. Now, that's the spin. Think about it. Now, how could you have an election, free and fair election, under military occupation, for God's sake?
When my daughter called me sobbing and told me she looked into a young man's eyes as he died from her bullet. She knew she had lost her humanity for a time. She will bear the burden for the rest of her life, as the once great nation of Iraq will bear the scars of U.S. occupation forever. This is the true consequence of our foreign policy. As ethical people, we cannot turn away from what we have wrought. We must stop the invasion now and help the Iraqi people to regain dignity and peace. We owe it to them and to ourselves.
PC back with Adam, and you've done maybe 5 shows this season.
Yeah,
Could you tell us about a couple of them?
Sure. Well, we're going to see a couple clips from a couple shows. The first is a show of Daniel Ellsberg and Medea Benjamin on a speaking tour last year. Ellsberg's a former policy analyst and exposer of the Pentagon Papers. We're going to see him talking about the Iraq War and Iraq policy, comparing it to Vietnam, which he had firsthand knowledge of. Also a short clip of Medea Benjamin talking about parents of soldiers wounded and killed in Iraq. So here are the clips.
But to get Cheney was to get first a kind of madman, a fascist, a smart fool, and a madman, but a guy who would bring in Wolfowitz, Pearl, and all these things. What would that have meant to me? If you knew their backgrounds, you could have predicted all this, but hardly anybody did. I don't think there's been another set of decision makers, Republican or Democrat, who would have used 9/11 as an opportunity to invade Iraq. Not only because it was a crazy thing to do anyway, as George Bush Sr. had known, and not only because it was a distraction from Al-Qaeda, but this is the other element. In the world of Al-Qaeda, it was increasing our dangers here at home in a way that we did not face in Vietnam. Criminal as that was, murderous as that was, it did not present Americans at home with increased danger. Every week we stay there increases our danger and makes it harder to deal with Al-Qaeda.
What we see happening is the parents of many of those young people who couldn't afford to send their children to college now standing up against this war. There's a man you might have heard of, Fernando Suarez. He went with us to Iraq to find the place where his son was killed because he wanted to plant a cross and say his last goodbyes to his son. And while he was in Iraq, he found out that the government had lied to him about how his son died. He was told that he died from enemy fire, and it turned out his son, who was a scout, had not been told that the day before they had dropped cluster bombs in that area. His son stepped on a cluster bomb and bled to death in the deserts of Iraq. And Fernando Suarez was furious when he heard that he was lied to. He was furious when he understood that he had been lied to not only about how his son died, but why his son was sent to war, and recognized that this was a war for oil, a war for empire, a war for domination, and came back to the United States, quit his job as a cashier for 7-Eleven in San Diego, and has become a full-time activist, going from high school, talking particularly to the Latino youth, and say, do not become cannon fodder in George Bush's war.
We're back again with Adam, and you're doing one on footage from Israel or about Israel?
Yeah, it's Yonatan Shapira. It's a show called Breaking Ranks. He's an Israeli pilot, served 11 years in the Israeli Defense Force and opposed the occupation. And he's one of the main authors of the Israeli pilot's letter of refusal. We're going to see him read a bit of it. And, also we're going to see him talk about U.S. public opinion and its lack of diversity. It's interesting coming from this perspective of an Israeli saying U.S. opinion is less diverse than Israeli opinion. So here are the clips.
We Air Force pilots who were raised on the values of Zionism, sacrifice, and contributing to the state of Israel object to perform illegal and immoral orders. We refuse to take part in the attacks of the Air Force in concentrations of civilian population, and we refuse to harm innocent civilians. These actions are illegal and immoral and are a direct result of the ongoing occupation which corrupt Israeli society as a whole. The continuation of the occupation delivers a mortal blow to the security of the State of Israel and to her moral strength. And we added at the last paragraph, and we said that we are willing to continue to obey and to follow every order, every command, in order to defend our country, wanting to say that from now we are willing to risk our life in the Israeli Defense Forces, but no longer in the Israeli occupation forces. And if once we used to say that when you have two Jewish people in a room, you have three opinions, you know that now I heard people say that you can have 100 Jewish American in one room and just one allowable opinion, because if you say something against my government, they call you anti-Semitic. And no one can blame me being anti-Semitic, no one can blame me being anti-Israeli. I risk my life so much, and I still, in some way, risking my life for defending my country. And I think this message can be delivered by each one of you who agree with me. And of course there are many other things, but it's not my job to tell you exactly what can you do and what you cannot do.
Now Barb is going to tell us about Rachel Corrie and a pharmacist.
Yes, this next program is also about Palestine. I think most people know who Rachel Corrie is. She was a young woman from Olympia, Washington, who went to Palestine to help people over there and was trying to protect the home of a pharmacist when she was run over by an Israeli bulldozer, which was manufactured in the United States, unfortunately.
And died.
And was killed, yeah. And her parents became very interested in what she had been doing and traveled over there also. And in this next clip, we see her mother talking about some of Rachel's experiences over there.
Right.
Let's take a look.
I have been in Palestine for 2 weeks and 1 hour now, and I still have very few words to describe what I see. It is most difficult for me to think about what's going on here when I sit down to write back to the United States. Something about the virtual portal into luxury. I don't know if many of the children here have ever existed without tank shell holes in their walls and towers of an occupying army surveying them constantly from the near horizons. I think, although I'm not entirely sure, that even the smallest of these children understand that life is not like this everywhere. An 8-year-old was shot and killed by an Israeli tank 2 days before I got here, and many of the children murmur his name to me, Ali, or point at the posters of him on the walls. Rachel told us that going to Gaza was one of the most important things she had done with her life. With other activists, she spent nights sleeping at wells to protect them from demolition. She stood between Palestinian municipal water workers who were trying to repair the wells and the Israeli military towers from which shots rained down, harassing the workers in the internationals. She documented the destruction of Palestinian olive orchards, gardens, and greenhouses, as well as harassment of Palestinians at checkpoints. She learned Arabic from Palestinian children and helped them with their English homework. She drank sweet tea with Palestinian grandmothers, held wiggling babies, and danced with Palestinian children. She wrote, "Know that I have a lot of very nice Palestinians looking after me. I have a small flu bug and got some very nice lemony drinks to cure me. Also, the woman who keeps the key for the well where we sleep keeps asking me about you. She doesn't speak a word of English, but she asks about my mom pretty frequently. Wants to make sure I'm calling you."
Hey, it's Martin Evans up now, and he's going to tell us about some of the shows you've been working on this year.
That's right, and this is my 11th year with Flying Focus.
Oh, my.
Well, as the Iraq War continues, the video bus has covered Mideast issues a lot and the politics of oil, but we were also able to catch up with some citizens who are taking matters into their own hands by making their own fuel. It's a homemade fuel called biodiesel, and biodiesel is made from vegetable oil, and it'll run in any diesel vehicle, or you can heat your home with it. So it's domestically...
Very timely.
That's right. It's domestically produced, it's renewable, and it can create jobs and reduce pollution. Now, we were able to visit with a guy named Loren Fennell.
I remember him.
Yeah, he runs a workshop up in North Portland where he makes biodiesel, and he teaches other people how they can set up a system for making their own safely and economically.
Biodiesel is just one of the stepping stones to getting towards alternative energy and freedom from the demand on petroleum products, and helping to eliminate global warming and being more responsible to the environment. So that's one of the reasons for starting Oregon Biodiesel Workshop. What I'd like to get into doing here is showing a little bit about how the process starts. We start by giving a 55-gallon barrel to different restaurants around town here. There's a screen in top of the barrel where they would pour their waste vegetable oil into, and then we would take it and bring it back here and process it by filtration and store it, and then begin the process of making biodiesel, or methyl ester as I like to refer to it as. The unique thing about methyl ester or biodiesel right now is that it meets and surpasses the Tier 2 EPA standard for emissions of in 2006. A little history about biodiesel, that Rudolf Diesel developed the diesel motor as we know it in 1892 and presented it to the World's Fair in 1902 and stunned the world by running it on peanut oil. And conversely, the gasoline internal combustion motor as we know it was originally designed to run on alcohol. So one has to ask some serious questions, why for 150 years have we not been allowed to use these products or have these products promoted more so than petroleum products? So now we have energy crises going around the world. We have invasions of people's countries, not to mention a lot of damage to the environment, which is one of the reasons why I do this. If more people become aware of the process of being self-sufficient, independent by producing their own fuel, then so be it.
We're here with Daniel now. I know that he's been with us about 5 or 6 years.
That's right.
But he knows what he's done this year. Tell me about it.
This program deals with copyright issues.
Okay.
Bert, Krages, and Kohel and Haver talk about how artists can use copyright law to protect their work against theft and misuse.
I remember it. Good. Let's take a look.
There are two general reasons why people come see me around artwork issues. One is they want to know, how do I protect the work? What is copyright? And how can I protect the work that I create? What do I have to do? What rights do I have in it? What's protectable and what's not protectable? Then the other question is if I don't ask, if I want to use work that belongs to somebody else, how much can I use? How do I go about using it without getting in trouble? Short answers for those if you have to run out of here for some emergency. You have a copyright as soon as your pen's off the paper. As soon as the work is created, you have a copyright interest that you can take to court. And in terms of using other people's work, the painless way is to get a license and pay for it. The more interesting way is just to take it and hope that you fall inside of reasonable exceptions for why that would be okay.
One of the unfortunate realities of copyright law is that litigation can be very expensive. Although the nice thing about copyright infringement and litigation is if you do it right, it can be relatively inexpensive, and if you do it really right, it can be quite lucrative. What's really important under the copyright statutes to be able to file a copyright infringement action, if you're a U.S. citizen filing in a U.S. court, you have to have registered the work with the Copyright Office before you can file the suit. And that's just a legal prerequisite. If, and this is a big if you have registered that work either before it was infringed or within 3 months of its first publication, you are eligible to recover what are called statutory damages, and you're also eligible to recover your attorney's fees.
Well, that's a wrap, and come see us again in about a week. We'll have more for you. And you wanted to say something, didn't you?
Well, this is our 14th Busiversary show
Right.
for Flying Focus Video Collective. And if people who want to get involved or support us in some other way can call us at 503-321-5051.
And 239-7456.
Right, and or they can email us at ffvc@flyingfocus.org. And we are on next week at the same time, so you can tune in and see part 2 of the Busiversary. And I'm Dan, this is PC, and we thank you very much for watching Flying Focus.
And the name of the program is The Video Bus. See you next time.